like on a good day, I will write 500 words in an hour. On a bad day, I will write 200 words in an hour. I'm very slow.
Welcome back to the Wax Quill Podcast. Woohoo!
Even though tension drives the reader to keep turning the pages, it's just tension is not always the center of the story, and it's not why I write to give this feeling of tension, even though it is an extremely effective selling tool, because faster you read, the more books you buy and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And just sticking with my premise, also, which has been an ongoing battle and still is a little bit, because I have 9 point of view characters, and and I can see that it will be extremely difficult to write book 2 and 3 because of this, uh, as they all like go in different directions, and so many things have to fit in in a book, where in book 1 we meet the characters one by one slowly, and like I think the last characters I introduced in like chapter 30 something. Um, so it's just like, yeah, I'm sticking with this choice, and I'm just gonna make it work. I'm gonna find out how do I make it work, and I'm gonna make 100 Google searches. I'm gonna read reviews of different books to kind of narrow down how do I make this thing that I want to work. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's been. Uh, I mean, it's difficult. It's just difficult. It is difficult work to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that, making sure all books align. It's scary. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Maybe that's why I
Yeah,
keep just writing new books so I don't have to write the sequels yet.
good. Excellent strategy. I might use that. I might just bail this one. No,
No,
no, I
don't.
want to stick.
All right. What's number 5?
So I had those 4 in the starting out kind of category, and so I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish things I want to talk about now that I'm struggling with. And the first one is actually writing. I struggle with sitting down and just writing. And it's partly because I have more to do now. I have a book launching, so I have to be my own publisher and marketer and all these things. I have the fantasy art exhibition,
Mm.
uh, so there's less time. But I get exhausted after 1 or 2 hours of writing. I just do, and I only write like on a good day. I will write 500 words in an hour. On a bad day, I will write 200 words in an hour. I'm very slow. I know I'm not going to be one of these authors who pump out a book or two every year. I'm
Mm.
gonna be like, I don't know, a book every other year is my aim anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just accepting that even though every article will tell me that I need to pump out a book every year to be valid, or not valid, but to increase my likelihood of success in a way. It's just not something I can do, and I'm just accepting that I can't do it. I'm just gonna the way I'm writing, in the pace I'm writing is, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
see what happens. Yeah,
That's interesting. No, that makes sense though. I was doing an interview just recently. It was published last week actually. And it was with Jalen Tellis. I do a lot of interviews with him, so I'm always talking about him. um, and he said that
no, I listen to those.
he's so
Yeah,
cool. He's so
yeah,
cool.
it's amazing.
Um, he was telling me about how he has this friend who was writing and she published like over 20 books in 3 years. And then she's like, hey, I'm done. I don't want to write anymore. And he was thinking, well, of course you don't. You've been stressing out about this and driving yourself crazy trying to output all these books, and the passion's
Yeah,
gone. So no
yeah,
need to
indeed.
stress about it.
It's and it's interesting. There's also a discussion going on with the complexity of what you're writing versus not the uncomplexity, what's the simplicity.
Mm.
um, that it's. I'm not gonna say my book is more complex than so many other books, but it is to me anyway, because I'm I want to make every sentence feel exactly like how I want to feel them. And there's a lot of sentences in the book. And I'm like, when I read, I barely read any fantasy because a lot of it I don't I have a hard time like getting immersed in the writing
Mm.
of a lot of authors. So it's very few things that I read, but I read a lot of history and listen to a lot of history. That's where I get all my inspiration almost. I can just swallow history like
Mm.
nobody's business. um, and anthropology and these things. So yeah, I don't know what my point actually was, but yeah, it's this thing with I'm not writing in a style that leans itself towards speed. I am writing in a style that's more. I don't want to say thoughtful because you can be speedy and thoughtful, but it's just more complex anyway for me.
You're writing to your passion.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know what I'm gonna write. I think that's what it is. And this is what I'm trying to say is I have no clue what's gonna happen in the next sentence. I'm like closing my eyes and visualizing, and then I'm opening them and I'm writing, and it's so slow. I can spend 10 minutes on two sentences because I have to, you know, take it all in before I write it, and then I'm gonna change everything when I edit it anyway. So this is why I can't just like.
I don't think I have the patience for that. You said
Yeah.
I'm articulate, which I think is an excellent compliment, but I think the truth is I'm just impatient.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Fair enough. I'm very patient, I think. So far, anyway. Maybe I'll get more impatient as more pressure gets put upon me as well to write the
mm,
sequel as well. Which I am writing, by the way, but
mhm.
it's taking time.
Well, even if you're writing one sentence a day, the book is getting written probably faster than most of the people who are trying to write a book are writing their books, you know.
True.
Oh, I'm going to sit down and do a 2 hour writing sprint. And then they're sick of it and they don't look at the book for another 2 months. And you've already written more in
Yeah.
those 2 months, you know?
Yeah.
So, all right,
Very true.
let's move on to number
Yes.
6.
So and this harkens back to the slowness of my writing. So refining each character's voice, each point of view character's voice, has been extremely difficult. So I have 9 different characters, and they are from 5 different cultures.
Oh,
The one you the one you read, chapter 1, her name is Fike, and she's the most let's say simplistic. Like she's an 8-year-old kid, so she will not structure a sentence even in the narration like an adult would. Um, and balancing this with like not overdoing it because I did definitely have a draft where I overdid it and nothing was intelligible. Uh, and but still keeping it like different for each point of view is so hard. It takes a long time. But it's also so interesting. And so this character Fikes, he's from the Seaborn culture, and chapter 2 you will meet Peon, who is also from the Seaborn culture. So they will share a voice, but he will be adult, kind of. And then there's another one later who's a completely different culture, and another one who is again a completely different culture and a different type of person. And they just each need their own. At least that's my goal. They each need their own voice.
mhm.
But again, it's still going to be my voice. It's not going to be like you have to adjust to a brand new way of reading, or like it's not a brand new way of writing. It's just different ways to use the language in each voice. And then you factor in the growth of the characters and how their voices change as well, because Fike gets a bit more mature as she travels around the world, and she gets more solemn. She will start to use M dashes in the final part of the book. But she doesn't use any M dashes at the start
Mhm.
because she's a child. She doesn't. I mean, That's how I try to kind of
Hmm.
uh, get this vibe of a child in. That there's not a lot of uh, these what are they called, like grammar tools. The grammar is simple in a way
Hmm. Well, it's
compared to
funny.
other.
When I was reading it, you never mentioned how old she was. But I was reading it and thinking, okay, how old is she? Because first I was thinking, oh, maybe she's like a teenager. But really quick, I thought, no, she's young. She's
Cool.
she's young,
Yeah.
just from
Yeah.
her attitude and yeah, how she was imagining things, and
Yeah.
the old man's
Nice.
reaction to her. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. So
Mhm.
those things you mentioned are not the voice, but you're right. Those things actually weigh more. I think they count more. What actually happens and how she reacts and things. But then the voice is just like the final layer that's so tricky to get right.
Well, they're all supporting the voice because she doesn't speak very much at all,
Right. Yeah.
right? So very few words you had. That sounded like Yoda. Very few words you had. Her character to
Yeah.
show.
That speak of a voice, I mean, Yoda has an extremely recognizable voice.
Yeah. Mm.
But yeah, it's I'm glad you picked up on that. So yeah.
Interesting.
The next thing is also a balancing thing for me. So I want the story to go somewhere. I want the story to be something, and the characters each want the story to be something, and the audience kind of also want the story to be something, you know. And the narrator, which who is not the characters, there's actually like a godly being who is narrating this. She has a foreword in the book, which I don't think I sent you, but she's called Aya, and it's her story basically. She's telling these people's story as it is as if it were her own. And so these four elements, me, the audience, the point of view character, and AI, they all have something they want to say with this story, and balancing all that is also a struggle, in a way. Um, yeah, I'll keep it simple. I mean, that's pretty much that's that. It's just a struggle.
Yeah. See, yeah, you're definitely talking about the finer details of writing, and it's good.
Sure. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, I think that's where the struggle of the struggle is in a way, or that's also where the beauty is. It's the finer details. Anyone can kind
Mhm.
of build a brick wall, but who can build it so it looks amazing? It's like you're using the same bricks, but it's like you're doing it in a special way that no one else can do. And so that's what I really
Mhm.
want to explore.
Yeah, I like it. More. What else?
Well, what else? So yeah, another balancing act is balancing the illusion of the world in a way, and I don't know how to explain it other than a few of my sub points, which are I'm using some words that are new, or I'm using known words in a new way. So I will use the word tide and wave to denote time.
I noticed that in a tide's time, or
And a
yeah, you
tide's
mentioned that.
time,
And I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah, and so on. And a wave is about 4 seconds, but it can be more, it can be less.
Mhm.
And there's lots of little things like that in the book that make you kind of feel very immersed, I hope. Um, but it's a balancing act because I definitely removed a lot of them because it's just like too much difference all of a sudden. You need also to kind of have something concrete and not be introduced to new things all the time.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one part of this illusion of the world, because if it was a real world, they wouldn't even speak English. They would speak their own language. And so this is what I was constantly thinking about, like all the way down to the specific words that I'm not using from the English language, like mirror. I'm never gonna write in this book that something is mirroring, like someone is mirroring her actions or something, because they don't have mirrors. It's a Stone Age world, and like nothing is silverish or silver colored, because there's no silver. They don't know what it is.
Interesting.
So there's just 100 of these things where I'm like, where do I draw the line? Because so like all of our words come from a place, and most of those places are Greek or Latin or French in the English language. Like they have roots in those three languages mainly, from what I know. Anyway, I'm not a linguist. I'm just a passionate guy. So it's constantly weighing those things where I struggle to relax sometimes, like, and just go with it, even though it's not the perfect word for the situation. And so yeah,
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
And the last, the last sub point of this is also just letting go of illogical things. Like I have a few things in my world that are not really logical, that I'm not gonna explain them in any way, because if you don't notice them, then you don't notice them. Even my editor and the beta readers didn't notice them, but in my head, I'm like, this doesn't make sense, but it's there because it's such a big part of the world now, and here you go, you know. So it's
Mm.
like a struggle to kind of also let go of that.
Can you give
Uh,
me an example? You can
I
make it up
can.
if you want.
Yeah. So, okay, I can give you an example because it's not really a problem anymore. Because I just edited it this week to
Mm.
not be a problem. So there's a culture called the Sandborn. They're born of the sand, and people in this valley where the first third of the book takes place, they call them the Sandborn, uh, and they are like a group of raiders to the south in like a Sahara-esque desert. But it's not. It doesn't make sense that they would call them Sandborn, because the guy who is actually leading them, he is a Sandborn, but he fell from atop the cliff that surrounds the valley. He fell into the valley and started his life there anew, and then he became like a nuisance to the tribes there, and he stealing kids and training them in his own way and so on. And uh, Sandborn is a word that comes from atop the cliff. It's like not something they would be familiar with down in the valley.
Ah, so they wouldn't know that.
Exactly. And I didn't realize before I started editing this draft that he knows he's a Sandborn, but like no one else does. And then I was like, could it be because, like, could I justify it that he's like attacking people and saying, "Aha, I'm a Sandborn." Ah, but no,
Mm.
that's not it's not it, because he doesn't actually view his own adopted kids as Sandborn, because he's very like strict. Like only he is Sandborn because he was born of the sand, and they are not. They are born down in the valley with the water, and everything is so easy and so
Mhm.
on. So he doesn't even like acknowledge his own kids that he has stolen and adopted.
Interesting. So how is that word gonna become common for everyone?
So it's
He's not
gonna
using it,
be,
right?
yeah. It's then you have to find a fucking solution. Sorry, freaking solution.
Mm-hmm.
I can swear on the YouTube. Um, So it's just I just changed Sandborn to Radar or Marauder basically for this
Mm.
draft, and then I will have some inner dialogue with him, where you can kind of see that he is called Sandborn, but no one else is, and then later he will say, because then like the people down in the valley, they eventually make it over the cliff that surrounds the valley, and then they discover the Sandborn, so it will become clear in that way.
Mm.
Um, but it's such a small thing that has such a huge impact on the whole like first third of the book, with
Mm.
how people kind of use this name in a way. Yeah, so that was an example of letting go of things that don't really make sense,
Yeah.
because there are other things that still don't make sense, but they're fine, they're working.
Mm-hmm. Little details.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like geography or cause and effect of some action, or you
Mm-hmm.
know world building things mainly. I mean, hopefully everything in the story sense makes sense, but it's just the world building can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
That
Gotcha. See, I need to have more of these problems because my world building stinks.
Oh no,
Hmm.
don't say that.
It's only
What do
rude
you
if
mean?
it's false, but it's true.
What do you mean? Why does it stink? What? Give me an
Well,
example.
I just am so hesitant to commit to things. And I guess in my head, I'm thinking more from the marketing side where, oh, I have to rush to the characters in the story. I have to rush to the interesting stuff. And I haven't let myself just relax and let it out because I notice I'll be writing a sentence. And before I'm even finished writing the sentence, I think, oh, this is already too long. It's too boring. Just
Oh
delete.
wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think that's the impatience.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah. Okay.
oh, how can I'm imagining this thing. What are the fewest words I can use in order to describe it to take as little time as possible? And it just feels
Yeah.
rushed because it is rushed.
Yeah. You know, it's an art. It's an art form to
Mhm.
balance these things. Uh, but yeah, you spoke about the marketability, which is actually like also one of my struggles. That I see so many things I could have done to make a more marketable book. Um, which is kind of also a bit of your point, right? With the like how to best explain it. Like so the Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire has the throne, you know, and the Lord of the Rings has the ring, and
Mhm.
everything has something. My book doesn't have anything. There's no central uh, plot. It's just here's some characters, and now please watch them do their thing.
Mhm.
And like I promise, it's gonna end up in a satisfying way, and you're gonna have fun along the way as well. But there's no, I can't really pitch it like uh something grab your attention. Now go read it,
Mhm.
or at least I haven't found it. Uh,
Mhm.
so that's it's difficult. I don't know if when you write a book or like when you sit down to write something, do you think about how am I gonna market it before you write it? Because that's what I'm doing now. It's like I can envision these things before I start writing something new.
Mhm. Interesting. I hadn't ever realized that there's a an item, not necessarily an item, but a central idea that connects everything, a central object maybe
Mm.
for some things. A catchy
Yeah, and it's
title. Maybe.
yeah, yeah. Can
Mhm.
be many things, you know, like Hunger Games. Okay, it's the arena. It's
Mhm.
that's the draw point, and I'm not very well read. Like what I've read is mostly very old books, like Us Children and Sinuhe, like Egyptian stories, things like that. And these things are very unstructured. Uh,
Mhm.
it's just like a character. It's 100% character driven, and that can be difficult to market because you as the first time viewer of this book cover or blurb or whatever has no relation to the character, but you can have a relation to a ring that's powerful or a throne that needs to be battled
Mhm.
about, what's it called, and so on and so on.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, what I'm saying is the book is very character driven, and that can be a struggle in the marketing department in a
Yeah.
way.
Mm. See, and I talk about marketing as if I know what I'm talking about. I'm just studying it. I don't actually have applicable knowledge yet.
Yeah, I mean, same. We it and it changes all the time. You know, something works now and it doesn't work a year from
Mhm.
now, and so on. It's weird, right? Because art is simultaneously the most and the least important thing in our lives, I think, because we're not gonna get like we're not gonna solve hunger and thirst by looking at art or reading. But we're also not gonna, I think, move in a good direction as a species if we don't have art, if we can't reflect and show each other how we see the world and so on through these media. So it's a sacred thing, but it feels silly to keep it sacred because it's not about survival. And so yeah, I don't know, I just went on a small rant, but
I've never thought
it's
about that.
okay.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. I think about it a lot.
So I'm LDS, so the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I
Okay.
guess I've always thought that, I mean, I believe that I'm God's daughter, that we're all his children. And because he created everything, that it's our spirits crave to create things.
Yeah.
So I guess
Okay.
that's what I always kind of thought was it's our spirits wanting to be like God.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's you can interpret that in many ways, and I don't disagree with that. I have a different take. I'm not a Christian or religious in that way, but yeah, it's true. It's what
Mhm.
I feel that we are here to create. We're not here to I don't know be in a factory. So on.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Well, it's also interesting. I talk to so many people, so many, and they all say, "Oh yeah, oh you write books. That's cool. I've always wanted to write a book. Oh, I thought about writing a book." Every everyone I've ever talked to has said that. Oh yeah, I was thinking about writing this or that or and I don't know. Everyone wants to. It's
Funny. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
painting or
Is it a,
drawing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Is it just a creative expression, or is it
Mhm.
really something they want? It's but anyway, I think many people are artists in a non-commercial way, and it's amazing for them. It's how they cope with mental health and life in general to scribble down something. Like even I remember in school listening to the teacher while I'm scribbling something or drawing something. It's like a healing thing to express something that isn't really anything.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, where it comes from can yeah, it's it's interesting. It is interesting, and it never stops being interesting. And I guess that's why we always explore it.
All right. Well, I love this. I love this ending. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a cute ending.
It is a great ending.
Yeah.
Where can the people find you?
So akhauser.com. My initials A and K, Andy Keel, and then Hauser, Hauser.
Mhm. I'll have it written up there.
Oh,
Alrighty. Thank you so much for being here. Writers, now go and write your books.
thank
Stop
you
putting
so
it
much.
off. See you later.
See you.
If you like writing, then please subscribe and leave a comment below about what kind of books you like to write. Thanks. Bye.